everyone and welcome back to the Bare Threads. This is another sewing video. So I have made myself a Christmas hoodie and I'm very pleased with it actually. Like, I love the fabric with the Santa faces and the Christmas trees. It's like it looks like it's knitted. It's like a faux knit design, but it is not. It is a knit fabric, but obviously on a machine. It's a French terry that I got from Little Legs. They were out of stock for ages, so I was waiting for it to come back in stock. And then it did, and I'm very excited that I managed to pick it up because I do love it. I just think it's so fun and so cute, but also I do like that like knitted design makes it look a little bit more quaint, like someone might have knitted you a jumper. I do think it is the kind of design that has been put together by AI or something, because I don't know how you would actually knit this in real life with the sort of three-dimensional Santa faces. But that's the beauty of, I don't know, digital designs, I suppose. I mean, I have some qualms about the use of AI, but for sewing, for fabric pattern design, it's probably not so problematic. But yes, this is a really nice French terry. It feels like super soft and super smooth, and also feels like it's gonna be super like warm and snuggly. Like I just want to kind of cuddle it. So I used that for the main body of the fabric. I used a really soft feeling plain red French terry that I got from Little Legs as well. Sorry, the camera always makes red look really saturated and makes everything go a little bit weird. Red's a little bit of a weird colour. And then I also bought some red ribbing to use on the cuffs and the waistband. I can't remember if I decided to purchase less ribbing than the patterns told me to get, or whether I actually got the correct amount. But when it came, it was like tubular, like totally tubular. And I've never really used ribbing before, so I wasn't entirely sure whether that was the norm or not. But with it being tubular and also the amount that I ordered, it wasn't enough to do the waistband in one continuous strip of fabric. So I did cut it into two and then sewed them together, as opposed to cutting it on the fold, because it just wasn't enough fabric. And that worked out fine because I had enough to do that, I just didn't have enough to do it all in one piece. Which seems a little bit odd, and I feel like either I under-ordered the amount of fabric or I bought the wrong type of ribbing or something. But it worked out fine. I don't really think it's that problematic to have a side seam on both sides of your waistband rather than just one. It sort of makes it more symmetrical and balanced. But yeah, I'm so pleased with how it turned out. This is the Waves and Wild Hot Coffee hoodie, and I already have made one in a blue sweatshirting fabric. It was a really nice bright blue colour, and it's like a really nice soft sweatshirting. It's actually the exact same sweatshirting as this paprika dress that I'm wearing, but in a blue colour. But it is a synthetic fabric, so it is polyester, and you can kind of tell, and the hoodie has already started bobbling, the blue one. This does feel like really nice, like cotton French terry. And you can kind of tell, but like, gosh, the price is definitely more expensive to buy natural fibres than it is to buy synthetic fibres. But I just thought that now that I've made the hot coffee hoodie and it fit quite well, I did grade it from a small to a medium, so small at the top and then graded out to a medium at the bottom, and that just gives me a little bit of extra around my, like, moving on to my hips, and that seemed to fit fine. So now that I know that that fits and that worked, I can like spend a bit more money on the nicer fabric, and also like it's a really fun Christmas design. I decided I want to get like loads more Christmas clothes, even though I don't really need them, so I'm making loads of Christmassy things to get me into the Christmas spirit, and also then I can wear it and then feel all Christmassy whilst I'm wearing it, and so it's like practical as well as like decorative. And it is a very practical garment, being like a hoodie jumper as opposed to like a more delicate, I don't know, blouse or dress that I might not get as much wear out of. I can wear this throughout the whole of December and on Christmas Day and whenever. So yeah, I like the pattern. It's fairly simple and straightforward. You know, you have the sleeves, the front and back of the body, the waistband and the cuffs. You then have obviously the hood. The hood pattern pieces really confused me and really confused my brain when I was trying to work out how to position the pattern, the fabric, how to place the paper pattern onto the fabric. I followed the instruction, just went with it tells you the direction of greatest stretch, so that they do explain things like very simply in the Waves and Wild patterns, but it is a directional print on the fabric, and I was a little bit confused as to how that would work, because I couldn't quite visualise, even though I've made it before, I couldn't quite visualise how the hood actually formed, because it's a bit of a weird construction, and I don't know if that's like a normal hood construction, because this is the only hoodie I've ever made, but it was really weird for my brain when I was looking at the paper pattern pieces and trying to work out how it was going to work out in the fabric. And then when I was actually putting together the lining with the main fabric for the hood, it confused me all over again. But I did get it eventually, and it was okay, and I have sewn it correctly. The only thing is that one side of the hood has Santa the right way up and one side has Santa the wrong way up, and that is not because I've cut the two pieces out with one of them the wrong way round. That is just the nature of how you cut out the hood piece. So it's like all one piece of fabric. So it goes like round like this, and that just inevitably means that if you have directional fabric, one side of it will be upside down when you're wearing it, which obviously they don't necessarily know that you're going to use directional fabric. You could just use a plain, and if you used a plain, if I did the whole hood in just red, wouldn't notice it, it would be absolutely fine. But it surprised me that they didn't mention this in the pattern, and what I should have done, and what I realise now, is I should have just cut it into two different pieces and then sewn them together, and then I could have had them both the right way round. It would have created an extra seam at the top of the hood, so that might have looked a little bit odd, but there is a seam that goes from the base of the neck up to the top of the head, and then it is just the very top of the head that there's no seam, and that's where it's joined together. So it would just be a continuation of that line, so I don't know that it would have looked that bad, and then I would have had Santa the right way round. So that is the one major problem with this, but I don't actually think it's that noticeable. Like, from afar, I don't think it's going to be that noticeable, especially when if I'm not wearing the hood, because it'll just be like sort of down around my neck like this. So I don't know, let me know what you think about that, about the hood construction, and whether you would have realised, and whether you think it's that noticeable. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, especially since it wasn't my fault. I didn't make a mistake, it was just the inevitable kind of nature of how you cut the pattern. But yeah, then you overlap the hood at the front here, and that worked out fine. I also did a back facing, which you probably can't see through that side of the pattern. So this is the back, and there should just be a very thin line of running stitch where I've sewn it in. But if I turn the whole thing inside out, you'll be able to see it in there. The back facing is optional. They do put in the pattern that it makes it look more professional. I think that might be true, but I think you have to sew it quite neatly, and it was a bit fiddly because of the amount of like fabric I had like shoved under the machine. So if you don't sew it neatly, I think it's going to look worse than not having it. But that's what it looks like on the inside. So then you can see that you've got to sew around that kind of curved shape, and that's the stitching that you can see on the back, although obviously I did sew in red thread, which doesn't show up as much. So what else you might be able to see is that I have overlocked all of my seams. So there they are, looking nice and overlocked. So I overlocked everything apart from obviously the back facing, which I wouldn't have been able to, well, I've only just got my overlocker, and I don't know if I can retract the blade or not. So if I'd done it with the blade down, it would have just slashed a hole through the whole top and ruined it. So I didn't do that. I did that with my sewing machine. That was the only bit I did with my sewing machine, and everything else was just overlocked. And my overlocker was gifted to me by a friend, and so it's a little bit of an older model, but I am loving using it. Like it's been like so much fun, and I'm just whizzing off clothes like so quickly, and it just looks so neat, and they feel like so much more polished, or like they look better from the outside as well as the inside, and they feel like structurally more secure, and I'm just loving it. I just love using my overlocker. The only couple of mistakes I'm still getting to grips with using the overlocker, and I did spend about an hour last night where I'd like rethreaded it, and I don't know what was going on, but all of the tension was off and the thread was a mess, and I lost like an hour of my life trying to sort that out. But when it is working, I am absolutely loving using it. So the only thing that I did slightly wrong with this is that on some of the pieces I thought I would get ahead of myself and be really smart, and I would like overlock. So I overlocked the bottom of the bodice pieces, but then I also attached the waistband with the overlocker. So I didn't need to overlock the body pieces because they were going to get overlocked to the waistband anyway. So that was just like unnecessary. But where it kind of has caught me out is that I overlocked the hood. So you construct the body, then you construct the hood, then you attach them. And I overlocked the bottom of the hood, and then I attached it to the body with the overlocker. So again, it was just unnecessary. But what has happened is that you can see some of that overlocking, like where I've like sewn on the hood piece is like peeking out of the join between the hood and the bottom. I mean, that could have happened if I had like basted it with just a sewing machine anyway, but I think then that would have been easier to unpick. So I could attempt to unpick that, but I think that would just get really messy, and it is only like a teeny tiny little bit. You probably can't even see anything on the camera. Don't know. So that's just a lesson learnt there, and I didn't need to do that. It's not a major problem, but I just love how this looks. The fabric quality, plus the overlocker, plus using a pattern that I know fits me and works, and I do know the pattern. I just think it has come out so well, and it's like one of the best things I've ever made. I'm so pleased with it. So now I just have to wear it. So, and that's the fun part, I guess. Well, sewing is fun as well, but it's nice to be able to wear clothes that you've made yourself as well, and it's like a fun hobby, but it's also like functional and practical, and then it justifies some of the cost involved in buying all of the fabric. So yes, that is my hot coffee, my Christmas Santa hot coffee hoodie. I just totally forgot how to speak English for a second there. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, and give me a like and a subscribe. Bye!